So good morning, I'm going to show you how to make the falling snow. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut your string to a length that you want the snow to be falling down, and you probably want to look at the umbrella to see the length of the umbrella. And then to thread the string, if you've never done this before, what you do is you take the string in your dominant hand and then the needle in your opposite hand. So what you're going to do is just thread it through the eye of the needle, which is the hole, and then you pull it through, and you pull through just a portion of it running down. You don't have to do it all the way to meet the other end, and this is just so that it doesn't unthread. So if you're newer to this, then I would say pull it like at least halfway. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is on the actual end, you're going to want to tie it probably at least 3 times so it doesn't unravel. And it's just a regular knot. And you want to pull tight. So you want to pull it, but not too tight where you're ripping the string. Just pretty, you can pull pretty tight though. And I'll just like tug on it here. So that should be secured. And then if you want to be extra secure, you could, put some glue on there. If you have a hot glue gun, a little bit of hot glue, but not directly from the gun because it might melt it. And then so you get your first little ball. It could be the bigger one or the smaller one, but for the smaller ones you want to get as close to the center as possible, and it should be a little bit tight to push through, because let me show you, if you don't get it through if you get it too close to the edges, it's just going to pull out. So you don't want that to happen. So you want to get it as close to the center as possible, and it should be a little bit tight to push. And then you thread it all the way through to the knot. And then you'll just continue doing this for as many snowballs that you want on that specific thread. And you can space them out. They'll probably move while you're doing this, but it should give you a good idea of where to put it or how many more you want to add. The bigger ones are easier to thread through. So you just want to make sure that you're not pointing towards your finger though, because you might accidentally poke yourself. So you just want it to go, I guess, parallel to your finger. Some of them are a little bit tougher to do, so just rotate it till you can get it, get a good thread through, or just move on to a different one. So I'll actually pull and see that one wasn't all the way through, just to make sure it's not gonna slip off the string. Or you can also wiggle the needle through if it's too tight to push through. Once you get it through, it's pretty easy. So once you have enough of them, you'll just want to pull the needle through the string. So the open edge that you have, just make sure it comes out of, if it's stuck in the snowball or below the snowball, you just pull it through and then just take it out. So now you have your string, and then you can space them out. If you're worried about them moving around, what you can do is add like a little bit of glue. So I got some Elmer's glue, and I'll just put it at the edge here, and then you'll want to let it sit and dry, and then just place it on something that's plastic. If you have a plastic placemat or just anything plastic, saran wrap or whatever, foil to work so it doesn't like glue onto a surface. And if it does, it's easily removable. I also have a glue gun. If you have a glue gun, you can use this. The only thing I say is make sure that the metal part of the glue gun doesn't actually touch the string, because it'll likely melt the string. So in this situation, I'm gonna just put a bead of glue on the actual snowball. And hot glue gun is hot, but once it's like sat for a little bit, it cools down, so you're able to touch it without burning your fingers. So that'll keep it secured. So those are two ways to keep to make sure that the balls don't move around, but you don't have to do it that way. They are going to move, but it should be okay. And for the fairy lights, the first thing you're going to want to do is attach it to the white piece of the umbrella, just because it moves up and down. And there, you're just going to want to tape it on there. Right now I'm just going to try some Scotch tape. I'm not sure if it's going to hold. Your other option is duct tape or just masking tape, whatever kind of tape you use. Looks like it might hold. And so now that should move with it. And you want to take that in consideration when you're attaching the fairy lights onto the umbrella. Okay, so I taped the fairy lights onto this piece here. And I didn't tape it too tight, so it's wiggling. So I'll go back and tighten that up. And then I strung the fairy lights on the main spokes, and I taped them on each one. I kind of went like this, up and down, and just taped it in one piece. Up, down, taped it. Up, down, taped it, up. And then I realized I ran out of string. So then I just kind of taped it here, taped it there, and taped it right here. And it should close. You'll just want to be careful when you're closing it. When you're taping it, you'll probably want to check that piece because it looks like a little bit tight to close yet. You're going to test the closing piece while you're taping to make sure you can get a good close. Okay, to tie the strings onto the umbrella, you can tie it onto these like thinner spokes or this piece of the umbrella. However, if you tie them closer on the thinner spokes, they're going to be right in your child's face. So if you plan to do that, I would do like shorter strings, maybe like no more than 6 inches of a string with the little snowballs. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either just tie it directly with a couple of knots. The same as you did on the end. And then, of course, if you don't tie it too tight, to make sure it stays in that section, it's going to be movable. So it just depends on what you want or your child wants. If they want to be able to move them, it's basically preference, and you can just trial and error, or you could you can use a piece of Scotch tape or whatever kind of tape you have and just wrap it around as well, which is another option if you don't want to do the knots. So now you have them hanging.